see you guys in the dark.
This happened some years ago during my sophomore year at the University of Michigan. It was during finals week, and I was down on campus studying for the multiple exams that I had that day. After studying in a local coffee shop, I decided to hunker down in one of the academic buildings to use the computer lab. First, however, I needed to make a detour to the bathroom. As finals had started and lectures had ended the campus, it was in a liminal state. Everywhere was empty, except the bustling main study areas. Thinking that I could use this to my advantage, I took the elevator to the fourth floor so that I could use the bathroom that I thought would be the quietest. Blasting music in my earbuds, I walk in, see that it appears empty, and hop into a stall to do my business. Everything is going well as I scroll on my phone. At this point, having put my earbuds away, then I noticed commotion 2 stalls to my right. The stall happened to be opening. Not odd, right? Just another student who had the same idea as me. After a weirdly long minute or so, I finally see a figure pass by my stall. He walks towards the exit in this U-shaped room, only to return after what sounded like getting a view of the sink side of this room. As I'm finishing up in my stall, I then watch this man enter the stall diagonal to me and hold the door at a 45-degree angle open and peer around at me. Now I'm just sitting there, just trying to process the middle-aged man seemingly trying to peep at me. I tried to ignore him, and I just wait him out. He just stayed there, staring. He then began shifting around as if he was trying to adjust his view. Annoyed, I ended up saying, "Is there something that I can fucking do for you?" Hoping to get him to leave. No. He still sits there, peering around the door. I then say, "What the fuck are you doing?" There's no response. He just glares at me. At this point, he begins shifting around the stall area, entering another random stall, and roaming the area in between both sets of stalls, the whole time looking at me through the crack of the door. At this point, my anger has turned into fear. Fear to open the stall, come face to face with whoever is brazen enough to do this. Something about his movements and unrelenting stare made me feel like I was some kind of prey to him. Around this time, I began contemplating calling someone, or calling DPSS, which is camp security. Thankfully, someone then walks into the bathroom. The creep then immediately leaves the stall. He leaves the room as I can hear him open and close the door. Hoping that he's gone, I begin to put on my bag, and then hear the door open, close, then open once again, as if someone had just walked in to only instantly leave. In the moment, looking back, I'm pretty sure that this was the creep coming back, yet leaving when he saw the student at the sink. As I hear the sink turn off, I recognize this is my best chance to get the hell out of there. Walking out with the student, I don't mention the experience, and I'm just focused on getting away from that restroom. My plan was go down one floor and then call DPSS. I figured I had to report this guy in case he tried to pull this again, and I assumed the police would want to meet me at the scene. Flustered, I head down. Thankfully, there was no sign of him. Coming out of the door of the north stairwell, I plop down on the bench, take a little breather, and begin dialing the number. Before I could even hit call, I see the creep walk through the same stairwell that I came from. He's at a speed walking pace. Right as he sees me, though, he stops outside of the doorway. He then begins a far calmer and casual walk down the hall past me. As he does, he stares directly at me, peers into empty classrooms. As he goes down the hall, I see him around the corner to the other hall on this floor. Spooked, I spring up and begin jogging down the stairs. As I descended, I call the police. I explain the whole situation to the dispatcher as I move swiftly down the stairs and down the hall to the main lobby of the building. Being on this first floor makes me feel a lot safer. There was a decent crowd around. I end up sitting below the staircase in the lobby next to a vending machine area. I finish my call, and I am told to wait for an officer to arrive. I sit there relieved, being around other people. Thoughts of the creep's intentions racing through my mind, but like clockwork, I see him once again. I get a good view of him this time, as I am a bit calmer. He had a beard and wore work boots, cargo pants, and tucked in t-shirt. Not a normal look for someone his age roaming a college campus. Thanks to the crowd, he didn't notice me immediately. He walks down the hall from the stairs I just ran down. He stops at the vending machine area, looking around. I bow my head and watch through my peripheral in an attempt to blend in more. After about a minute of him scanning the room, he walks away. Shortly after that, the cops had arrived. He essentially tells me that there's no way he'll be able to find this guy, and he'll take a look at the bathroom anyways. Annoyed, I take his card and leave. I ended up taking a convoluted route to the undergraduate library through the grad library. My hopes were to prevent the creep from seeing me in the open diagonal. As I get into the undergrad library lobby, I sit down staring at the door, fully expecting this creep to walk in once again. Thankfully, he makes no appearance. I end up running into a roommate who jokes I almost got raped, and then sat down with me for my remaining few hours to try and fail to focus on studying. So I was 18. I hung out with this guy who was 21, who had set me up 3 times before, but I was really bored and lonely. My actual crush said he felt like he was entering a depressive episode, so I didn't want to bother him. I had given this other guy a shot. He picked me up and immediately threw me off. He looked strange, nothing really like the photo, but whatever. We didn't really have a plan. I already felt super uncomfortable with him, but I had decided to give it a try anyway. He drove to a gas station to do whatever he needed to do. Then I said that we should totally go to Dave and Buster's. He said might as well. So we went, blew $40 on tickets, but we ended up giving the card to some other kid instead. In his words, I don't really want anything. That part was fine. But after that, he started acting really weird. He kept joking about ending us while driving and swerving. At one point, he was driving with his knees and had both hands above his head. I don't know if he thought it was impressive or what, but I just stared at my phone and pretended not to notice because I was already so uncomfortable. Then he parked at a local park that was completely locked and said, "Aw, man." I told him of course it's locked. It's a town park and it's late. So he just sat there parked, and I could feel that he was trying to make a move. I stayed glued to my phone, knowing exactly what he wanted, and eventually I suggested that we head downtown, which is near my place. He said okay, but once again he started swerving, speeding, and driving with no hands. I was so unbelievably uncomfortable. I kept dropping hints that I wanted to go home, but he wasn't picking up on any of them. We got downtown, and he said he needed to smoke, so he parked in front of a smoke shop, went inside to buy a cart, while I sat in the car texting my friend about what a nightmare I was trapped in. When he came back, he started driving through some random neighborhoods and kept pointing out secluded houses that he liked, talking about which ones he would see himself living in. It was really creepy. We finally got back to the main street, and again he randomly turned off and almost hit a pole. I asked him what he was doing. He said, "Sorry, I'm just impulsive," then launched into this whole monologue about his dangerous lifestyle. He had not asked me a single thing about myself the entire time. He just kept talking about himself. At this point, I was over it, so I tried to steer the vibe back to my house. I thought he got the hint when we were near my place, but then he randomly noticed a clock on the side of Wigman's. And then he said, "Whoa, that's so cool. I want to go see that." I said, "Yeah, I live near it. Obviously, I've been there." And he said, "Okay, smartass." Laughed at me. I didn't laugh because it was just not funny. He parked at the empty parking lot and took off his seatbelt, moved his seat back. He kept giving me the look that guys give when they want to kiss you. I was on my phone messing with my vape and scrolling to make it very clear that wasn't happening. Then he randomly said, "Okay, tell me about yourself." I said, "Okay, ask any question you want." He just sat there in silence and said, "You clearly want to go home." I thought finally he got the message. I raised my hands and said, "Yeah, sure, whatever." But instead of taking me home, he started asking me questions again, so I was trapped yet again. I told him about my college plans, and then he started asking where my family is from and what my last name is. He then went on an entire rant how Nigerians were evil and how I must be toxic. The whole thing just felt weird. I think I've mentally blocked out some parts because it was very uncomfortable for me. Eventually, I said that I was getting tired. He finally agreed to take me home, but instead of going the normal way, he took the longest route possible, then missed my turn on purpose. I pointed it out, and he said, "Fuck, okay." Then he turned around. We finally got to my house, and just as I was about to leave, he parked and pulled his seat back again. I just sat there trying not to show any fear because I really didn't want him to touch me. He kept looking at me, clearly wanting to kiss me, but I didn't even want to look at him. Then somehow he started talking about Palestine and Israel, which I'm interested in because it's obviously a heartbreaking conflict. But then he started blaming Jews for everything, saying they run all the banks and basically control the entire world. I asked him if he blamed all the Jews because that's what it sounded like. He said no. He just kept on going with more conspiracies. He said that his family had escaped to Egypt, and I said that I was sorry. He kept looking at me like he wanted to kiss again, and I just refused to look back. Then he said he wanted to show me this ancient scripture of Israelite laws and pointed to something that claimed the age of consent was 3.5 years old. Mind you, I found out that he idolized Kanye and was wearing Yeezys, talking about how Jews are all evil and all should die. I asked him, has he met a real Jew person and spoke to them? All he said was, yeah, I work at a car dealership. They are all greedy and cheap. And then proceeded to burst out laughing. I was just frozen, thinking, this can't be real. That's when I said, okay, well, I really have to go. I tried to play it casual, so he wouldn't touch me. I said that we can hang out tomorrow. He said, okay, 4 p.m., are you free? I lied and said that I would check my schedule. I pretended to check, and I said, yeah, that works. I told him to text me when he got home and dashed out of the car like my life depended on it. The second that I got inside, I texted my friend everything that happened, made sure he wasn't following me, and immediately blocked him on Tinder and on Instagram. I don't know what kind of person thinks any of this is appropriate on a first date, but I hope that I never cross paths with him again. A few weeks ago, I was in Denver Airport. I got there way early for my flight out of the convenience. I walked the terminal with my bag and suitcase to get some exercise. Checking the options for food, I decided where to get lunch, got my food, and swiftly walked back to where I had decided to sit. I stopped at my decided seat facing a window and set my food down, taking off my backpack and kind of turning around. I noticed this man was standing close to another man sitting in a chair, behind my seat in the next section of chairs, thinking that they were together. When I sat down, the same man walked over to the doors in front of me, a little to the left, and stood facing the camera box, his face only inches from it. Weird. I take notice of this. He walked off, but came back quickly. At this point, I am taking more notice, checking his hands to see if he is touching himself or trying to take a picture of me. He is not. He's just standing there, nose literally almost touching the door. He disappears, and I am enjoying my food. An employee begins approaching me. I pause my podcast and greet him. He's obviously coming to speak with me. He asks if I know the man and points towards the door he was standing. No, I don't know him, I told the guy. So, the employee says, I just want to let you know that he is following you. He had followed me through over half of the terminal. The employee told me he saw the man notice me and basically take off running after me, and the employee followed us. The employee said that he tried to cut in between the man and me, and that the man sped up so that the employee was unable to get between us. According to the employee, when I sat down, the guy sat right behind me. And then when I turned around, he stood up and jumped over to be standing beside the other guy, when I had thought that they were traveling together. When I sat down again, he came and stood in front of me, facing the door. He paced off back to the other random guy, and then back to the door. He ran off when the employee came over to talk to me and asking if I knew this man. The employee had been watching where he went. He walked off into a shop. He was going to see what was going on, and that if anything else happens, to please alert the employee. Another employee, I think more security type, came to chat with me and just make sure that I was okay. At some point, the man behind me, the one that the man stood next to, also piped up that it was strange and he had been alerted by the man's movements and standing so close to him. During this, the original employee had come back, let me know that he had boarded his flight. From the time the employee first approached me until the man boarded his flight was only about 10 to 15 minutes.
If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe, like, and hit the bell for notifications on future videos and become a stalker of the night. And I'll see you next time.